All right, if you're gearing up for that PCI Level 1 or Level 2 exam, you know every single point matters. We're about to dive into one of the most practical and, let's be honest, most frequently tested sections, concrete handling and transport. Just think of this as your personal study guide for the key ideas you absolutely cannot afford to miss.
So let's just jump right in. The goal here is simple: to make you feel totally confident with any question they throw at you about handling and transport. We're going to focus only on what's critical for the test.
You know, the first thing inspectors look for, and probably the first thing your exam is going to test you on, is how that concrete gets from the plant to the pour. This whole process is governed by a really strict set of rules for quality and safety. These are the absolute non-negotiables.
Now for your exam, you've got to be familiar with the key players in the transport game. You have your workhorses, like bottom dump buckets for really precise placement, and hoppers, which are often fed by conveyors or augers. Then of course you've got the mobile units, truck-mounted hoppers, and the ones you see all the time, agitator trucks and conventional concrete trucks. Look, you don't need to be an expert on every single one, but you definitely need to recognize their names and what they're generally used for.
Okay, pay super close attention here. Whenever you see a procedure that's this specific, it's basically a gift on an exam. Why? Because contamination is one of the biggest reasons for failure. So you have to memorize these 4 critical cleaning times: after every single use, before any new casting starts, when you're switching between different mixes, and even at certain times during those really long pours. Get this wrong in the field, and you fail the quality check. Simple as that.
This right here, this is a rule you should burn into your memory. These kinds of simple, absolute statements make for perfect exam questions. See, agitator trucks have a rated capacity for a reason. If you overload them, the concrete can segregate, and it creates a huge safety risk. The takeaway couldn't be simpler. Never, ever exceed the rated capacity, period.
So, we've managed to get the concrete to the site safely and cleanly. Awesome. Now we actually have to place it. But how we do that, well, it's not about the equipment we want to use. It's all about the equipment the concrete itself demands we use. The method for placement is always driven by the properties of the mix.
And the number one most important property we need to talk about, it's slump. Just think of slump as a way to measure the concrete's consistency or its workability. You know, is it super stiff like oatmeal, or is it more fluid, kind of like a thick soup? This one characteristic is what's going to dictate all the equipment and the methods you're going to have to use for placement.
This is really the core if-then logic that you're going to need for the exam. It's a tale of 2 concretes. On one side, you've got low slump, really stiff stuff. The challenge? Just getting it to move. So you need steep chutes, maybe even some vibration to get it flowing. But on the other side, you have high slump concrete, or SCC. Here, the challenge is the complete opposite. It's containment. It flows so well that you have to stop it from leaking everywhere, which means you need leak-proof gates and sealed joints. 2 different problems mean 2 totally different tool sets.
So what's the big takeaway from this entire section? It's right here. The concrete, the material, tells you what to do. You don't just pick a method and then force the concrete to work with it. Nope. You look at the concrete's properties, especially its slump, and then you choose the right method. The material dictates the method, always.
All right, let's lock all this information in. If you remember nothing else from this explainer, please remember these next 3 points. These are the big takeaways that are almost guaranteed to show up on your exam.
First up, cleanliness is absolutely non-negotiable. Remember those 4 critical moments for cleaning? Hardened concrete from an old pour is one of the easiest ways to contaminate a brand new mix and fail an inspection.
Second, always respect the rated capacity. Never overload an agitator truck. It's such a simple rule, but it's a critical check for both quality and site safety, which makes it a favorite for exam questions.
And third, that golden rule we talked about. Match your equipment to the material. Low slump needs a little help to get flowing. High slump needs a lot of help with containment. You have to let the concrete's properties tell you what method to use, not the other way around.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought, just to really cement the main idea of this whole explainer. When it comes down to placing concrete, what's in the driver's seat? Is it the equipment you happen to have on hand, or is it the properties of the material you're working with? If you can answer that confidently, you've totally mastered this core concept. Good luck with your studies.